All right, YouTube Repo Man 64. I was sitting yesterday and I'm like, it's 40 days from before when I think the rapture could occur, a high watch day for me. March 16th, the last day of the year, the end of the Shemitah cycle, the last day before the new Jubilee and new Shemitah cycle start on March 17th. And I'm like, 40 days, you would think we'd see something because these prophetic numbers and these times that we saw, like for Noah, get into the ark 7 days in advance, Sodom and Gomorrah 1 day in advance. We saw all these pre-warnings, and God promised in Amos 3:7 that he was going to tell us, he was going to let us know. And if you have eyes to see, you would see these things. So I'm sitting there yesterday and I'm like, nothing really major. I mean, Greece is going nuts. It looks like that volcano is going to take off, but a lot of earthquakes going on over there. So I thought, man, maybe that's it. But it's been going on for a few days. Something you would think major would happen 40 days prior, 30 days prior, 7 days prior, 3 days prior, just events that will lead us up to this. And we know the rapture is going to occur, and we're all just trying to figure out when. And then all of a sudden, the news flash comes over. The treacherous dealer deals treacherously, makes an announcement that blew us all away, that we couldn't even think of. I don't know that anybody ever thought of this, that the United States will take over Gaza. It all made sense. How are they going to give Jerusalem and the West Bank, the area around that, over to a Palestine state, and yet Israel stay in control? Well, nobody wanted that on the planet. Jordan didn't want it. Egypt didn't want it. Lebanon didn't want it. None of these countries would allow Israel to do that. But they themselves, these countries, aside from the Hezbollah and Hamas type people who want to just kill everybody because they're sociopaths, aside from them, the EAU, none of them wanted this control because of the drama that came with it, because of everything that would be involved. And it's not their country. So they were just like, I don't even want to deal with it. Trump has been working on this thing. This guy, I can't even, my brain just can't even contemplate. This guy comes up and says, we'll take it over. What? That's insane. That's absolutely insane that just happened. And I was sitting there watching that and I was like, that's huge. 40 days prior to the date, I think. And Trump does this. It's absolutely flooring that happened. And so now the United States will go in there, call it a Palestine state, build the temple that Israel wants. Who can deny it? It's signed over. The United States owns Palestine, and Palestine is now a part of Israel, and they will govern it, control it, and will not allow. And the Palestinian people, while they've never experienced freedom, so they don't understand. You see them in the streets wanting Hamas to rule them because they don't know any better. Just like the Jews when they left Egypt, they were like, at least over there, yeah, we were slaves, but at least over there, we had, the better food. We were not eating this manna. That's kind of human nature. It's Stockholm syndrome. Once you're stuck in a situation, you adapt to it and even embrace it. And so God knew that, and the same thing's happening with these people. We can't really be upset at the Palestinian people, but once they gain their freedom, one generation, which isn't going to happen because we know that the rapture's coming, but one generation they would begin to fight for themselves. In the United States, Trump knows that too. And so the biggest event that we've seen since Israel was invaded is that now the United States owns Palestine, and Palestine is a part of Israel, and they are now they have legal right now to build that temple. And who will stop them? Hamas isn't in there. They won't dare go near that area Hezbollah won't dare go near that area. Iran, um, let's see what transpires over the next few days. I would think that the only people that are truly upset over this will be Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran. So we'll see what comes down the pike uh, after this announcement. So I want to get into the timeline again and show you where we are and why I think March 16th is a very high watch date. And people are telling me how to say Purim. I say Purim because that's how it's spelled and that's what it looks like. Purim, Purim, Purim. Um, you'll get hung up on translation. Just get hung up on the word, and that's it. We had people concerned about calling Jesus Jesus because his name is Yeshua, and I'm like, in English it's Jesus. We'll call him Jesus. We'll be all right with that. So don't get hung up on legalities. Salvation is a free gift. It's so simple. He's offering you a cup. Just take it and drink from it. He's offering you salvation. Free gift. Just take it. And Satan has that sociopath has complicated things so deeply that everybody thinks they have to do some kind of work. And if you do this and if you do that, and that's the simplicity of the gospel and why so many will be left behind. So the next few days are going to be incredible. Let me go in here and show you what I'm looking at. Let me move my picture up here out of the way. All right. We've discussed this several times. Jesus was here for 33 and a half years. If you keep moving his date on the cross, you move when he was born. You can't, there are those who are trying to say he was here for 36 years, 37, just to justify their math, and you can't do that. There are solid, concrete dates that happened. When they happened, we have to discern. The coins on Jesus' eyes were from 29 or 30 AD. Nobody walked around with coins in their pocket for 3 years, dropping them on the ground in the mud and wiping them off and then putting these coins on the eyes. Jesus, they would have had access to brand new, freshly minted coins. And the reason that happened and the reason God wanted that to happen is so that we would figure out what year it was. And those coins are from 2930, not 33. So that being said, they again would have put brand new coins on his eyes. Also, we have the bookends. We have the beginning and the end. He had to have died in 30 AD. Had to have. But we see March 30th. They don't recognize the head of the year until September. So they might have called it, or they began to recognize the head of the year in September. We began, or supposed to begin, to recognize the year in March. It might be that they are viewing 31 AD by virtue of the 0 year. So we can either say Jesus was born in 4 BC because of the 0 year, or 3 BC and 31 AD because of the 0 year. It can go either way, depending on how we calculate it. And it's not that the date changes, it's that our understanding of the date changes. So if we say Jesus was born in 4 BC, then it's 30 AD. If you say it was 3 BC, then it's 31 AD. Also, Herod died in 4 BC, right after he gave the order to kill all those babies 2 years and under. He could not, if you move this to 32, this would move this to 1 BC. Herod wasn't there to make that order. So you can't budge. It's a bookend. You can't budge the beginning or the end. Under the understanding of the date based on the 0 year might budge a little bit, but from what I can see and gather, it was September 30th, 3 BC or 4 BC as we understand it, and March 30th, 3080 or 3180 as we understand it. But there is a simple fact. It was 33 and a half years. That cannot change. He was about 30 years old, like it says in the Bible, when he began his ministry. It was, in fact, 5 days before his 30th birthday. He did this on September the 24th, the Day of Atonement, the same day the Revelation 12 sign happened. All of these things that we're seeing are on a fixed, static calendar. They don't move around because of the moon. The moon has nothing to do with the head of the year or anything. Sliver moons, full moons, none of it has anything. If you're using that for your calculations, you'll never be correct. I challenge anyone to build a timeline and call the flood when we all know it happened on October the 31st and go 150 days and hit the cross. This timeline only does that. This timeline is the only timeline that does that, 150 days. All right. This is the original timeline that I've been working on or had been working on for about 5 years, from about 6 years ago. And then a year ago, I decided to change it to 6 days you work and 7 day you will rest. And when I put it all on here, it opened a lot of understanding as to when things happen. So where are we at right now? All right. Right now it is February the 5th. It is 39 days from March 16th. So right here is where we are. We are on Shavat 23. Yesterday was Shavat 22, which is 11, 11, 11. If you take the 22 and divide it into 11, 11, 11. Shavat is the 11th month and 22nd day, February 4th. This lands us 40 days prior to the date Lazarus died. We know he died on this day because this is the day of equal parts. Jesus said, "Are there not 12 hours in the day?" Enoch said, I think it's 79:20 of the book of Enoch. He said that on the day equalized. This simply does not happen on the equinox. We're not children of the night. We're children of the day. Equilux means equal day. Equinox means equal night. We're children of the day. So this is the date that ends the year. On this day, on March 16th, will end the 49 Jubilee cycle. I finally, in a lot of conversations with Sister Sandy, and she actually built it. She actually built the 6,000 year timeline. And if you want to see that, go here. It's not my timeline. I didn't build it. She did. And it's amazing. It was more than I could do, more than I could understand. But this is her website, and she says it's up there, and she's looking for anybody who has historical dates, and she will go in there and say, yes, this date, it actually happened in this year. She's doing it year by year. Some of it's by date, but year by year. And what she's doing is it would just like this timeline. Nothing happens on Friday or Tuesday. Didn't know that until I built it. And she's working on hers in that if you give her a date, it would land either on a Shmida, beginning of a Shmida, or the beginning of a Jubilee, or both. So she's wanting those dates to help her out. And I would imagine, and I don't know this for certain, but I would imagine that you'd be able to leave her an email of things that happen. And I've been we're going back and forth on dates and stuff, and hers don't match mine exactly, and I don't care. That's not what we're looking to do, is to be right. We're looking and watching for this event to happen to try to figure it out. And a lot of them actually do match. So it's very, very exciting to see the work she's put into that. Lots and lots of hours. She said that she said, now I understand when all those numbers start flying, you have to get them down on a piece of paper, because if you don't, they just stay up there rattling around. And that's what happens to me. I start calculating and continue doing calculations, trying to figure stuff out. And until I put it down on paper, I can't really fully see what I'm discussing. So right now we are on February, again, we're on February the 5th. Is it? Yeah, February the 5th. Yesterday was Shavat 22. Shavat's the 11th month. 22 is like, it's like saying 11, 11, 11. And it was February the 4th. And it was late in the evening when we learned about this. So we have to account for the 4 minutes per day. All right, let me keep going here. Now, this is the 6,000 year timeline I built, and this is what you would start with. You would start with a linear timeline like this, and then you would graduate to a graph timeline, much like I did with my linear timeline, and then graduated to a graph timeline. Same thing. I have a linear timeline, but there was no conceivable way without a computer program to um, put it all on a graph like Sister Sandy has. And again, www.endtime-studies.com is her website. Now, I have to put on the old man glasses, my Walmart 399 1.5 glasses, because I can see just fine until I have to read. Then I'm blind. All right. So again, what I did was eliminated 556 days. I had no choice, and I noticed, and I didn't know where to put it. That website, or that YouTube channel, Ivan S. I think it's Ivan S 26 or something to that effect. I don't recall, but he made a comment that the time that Noah was up on the ark, he wasn't tilling the ground, which is what our sentence was. Our arraignment said that we were to be on the ground, tilling it. Now, when God moved the head of the year, he moved it from September to March. And he said, this now is the head of your year. And these are 6 months that we haven't lived. So Satan would have a railing accusation, just like he did for the bones of Moses. And God's, if it was Michael, was it Michael that came and said, step back, get behind me. This is happening, and there's nothing you can do about it. It would be, it would be the first. Now the first, I guess maybe there, I don't know if there's a grave in heaven. I don't know how where are his bones? I don't know where his bones would be. But now we have Satan. He comes up and he knows the law. He knows the rules to this game that he's playing. In the end, he knows he's going to lose, but he is hopeful that there's some kind of technicality that he can go through to win. And so God will play every moment exact to the moment, not because, well, he's God. It's easy for him. Just like Jesus coming here in a fleshly body before the Holy Spirit settled down on him in the year 26 and a half AD, when he was about 30 years old. Before that, he lived a completely sinless life. You show me an 18-year-old that is sin free. You won't find one. A 19-year-old, they are, especially in nowadays, they are completely out of control. Nobody's disciplining them, and they are absolutely completely out of control. And their parents don't realize that they're consigning them to a lake of fire if they don't teach them in the way they shall go. But that's another video, which I probably will never make. It's just probably because I'm 60 and I see these things. I was probably just as crazy at 18. I don't know. But so we have Jesus here, 26 and a half, which is September of the year 26 AD. And then I did the calculations. I never knew where to put it. You saw me make that timeline. I put that 556 days everywhere, trying to figure out, when the rapture was. And then I realized as I'm studying that 556 days before Jesus landed perfectly on March 16th, which in 25 AD, which would take up that extra time. So the Jubilee and the Shmida cycle began. I give a gap of 28 and a half years. It was about 30, remember, but a year and a half of that is eaten up by this time that must be given back. So this 28 and a half years, I give a gap between the 4,000 years or the 80 Jubilees and the 2,000 years or the 40 Jubilees. The reason we have to, give that gap is you can either change creation from 4004 BC and turn it into 38 something or 39 something to try to make up for that extra time. But when you do that, you change the date of the flood, you change the date Joshua came into the land in 1406 BC. You can't change it. Just like you can't change the age of Jesus when he went to the cross, you can't change when he went to the cross. You have a bookend. You either have Herod dying too soon to kill off the babies because Jesus was born after that, or um, you have those coins on his eyes, uh, supposed to be minted brand new, put onto the to our Lord and Savior, God Almighty, and somebody pulled gum off of the coin and stuck it on his eyes. I'm sorry, that didn't happen. They were brand new coins, and I've heard already the arguments that maybe somebody just had them lying around for 3 years. No, they were brand new minted coins, 29 or 30 AD, 30 AD. So and then I realized, wait a second, let me back up. We go to March 16th, and then we go forward exactly 40 Jubilees, and we land on March 16th of 2025. So that's a very high watch day for me. And also Purim, 30 days earlier on February, what would it be? Well, February 28th, because Purim is actually 30 days prior to the cross, which the cross was on March 30th. Excuse me, it's cold out here and got me sniffling. Now, let's continue forward here. I surmised, I did all this from blood moon of November 8th of 2022 up to when I think the temple's going to be built. I think the temple's going to be built by next year, January 25th of 2026. And I did a bunch of math to show that in a previous video. But I said if the rapture is on March 16th, it's 860 days and 313. Didn't quite match. So that's why I'm up in the air about March 16th or March 26th. So, but the total of 1173 days. All right. I did that with you all before. I wanted to show this real quick. And this is to all the mothers out there who have brand new babies. Your baby is born here. Let's say your baby's born on March 17th. Your baby is 1 month old, 2 months old, 3 months old, 4 months old. Your baby is 1 year old right down here on, let me go down here. I think I wrote it down here. Yeah. Your baby is 1 year old right here on March 16th. On March 17th, your baby will turn 2. How long did it take your baby from birth to here to become 1? Well, we know because you counted it every single month. He's a month old. He's 2 months old. He's 6 weeks old. And women are absolutely famous for doing this. Some women will carry their baby's age all the way. He's 36 months old. Oh, you mean he's 3? Well, yeah, but he's 36 months. They hang on to that forever. So here we go. Baby's 1. And we start counting. Baby's 1 year old. And the mother will be, he's 13 months, he's 14 months, he's 15 months. The mother will count. And here we are. The baby is 2 years old. Now, after the age of 2, usually that stops. Usually that stops after the age of 2. Now, he's 2 years old here. 1, 2. He's completed 2 years. He has to complete 3 years, but we will call him 1, 2, right here. We will call him 3 years old. But is he 3 years old? 1, 2, 3. No, he's not 3 until down here. It's not 3 until all the way down here. But we will say he's 3 from the moment he stops being 2. 1, 2, March 17th, he's 3. But he has to go all the way down here to be 4. Is he 3 years old yet? No, he's not 3 years old until he completes this entire year. He is 2 years and 1 month. The mother's had it right. 2 years and 2 months, 2 years and 3 months. He's not 3 years old. He hasn't completed 3 years on this planet until here. The same thing with the Shemitah cycle. And I believe Sister Sandy has the same understanding. The Shemitah cycle starts right here. The Jubilee starts right here. It starts in 25 AD. And it will go in 24, my apologies, in 24 AD ends the previous Shemitah cycle and begins a Jubilee year. Where does it end? It ends in 24 AD on the last day. And it goes, and the first year is here. That's the first Shemitah cycle. And it carries all the way down. Is this the 49th yet? No, we just finished the 48th down here. We jumped up here. 49's not done until we get through to here. This is 2024. It will not finish. We can call it 5784 to make it more understandable. I know we're in the year 2025, but technically 2025 doesn't begin until March 17th. We will complete the 49th Jubilee cycle until March 16th. On March 17th, we will call it 50. But we just began the first of the series of 49 Jubilee cycles here as well. This is March 17th in the year 2025. It all begins right here, but it also ends right here. We count it again, we count we say, and this is what I struggled with for a minute. We say that the Shemitah cycles, 49 years ends up here. Doesn't. I just showed you with babies. It doesn't. It doesn't end until down here. We have to complete the 49th year. In the 49th year, you will blow trumpets. It will be a happy time. You will do it in the 6th month and 10th day, and you will continue on through the year. This is a, a, a warning that Jubilee is coming. This is the year, at the end of this is the year the Jubilee will come. Over here, we will begin the first of 49 Shemitah cycles. It will end again here. And the very next day, on March 17th, we'll begin both the Jubilee, which will last 1 year, and it will begin the Shemitah cycle. This will begin on March 17th. March 17th, right there in the year 2025, but it ends here. This is where the last day is. So when I got in here before, I said, well, 49 is not 50. Until I counted it out, like as with a baby, I didn't realize that you are not 49. For example, I'm 60, but I'm not 60. I'm 59 years old in a couple of months. I won't actually complete 60 until one day before my 61st birthday. That's the year of my 61st, but I'm beginning to live it, if you see what I'm saying. So, and we know that because that's how, mothers will count their babies. He's 1 year old. He's 2 years old. He's completed two, but he's 3 years old, but he hasn't completed it. Until you stop counting by months, you understand what that means. All right, so I Googled it. It's not the greatest source of information, but they found these are the impressions that were left on the Shroud of Turin when Jesus rose, and to date, to right now, they cannot cause a negative image to appear on a piece of cloth. The amount of energy they said to cause something like that to happen would have been immense. Now imagine that happening times somewhere between 100 million and 200 million people on this planet, wherever they are. Boom, graves open. Boom, this light happens. It's going to knock out all the power on the face of the earth. Jesus was a localized um, resurrection, rapture, where he was changed into his glorified body. And when it happened, the Shroud of Turin it looks like a negative picture, a negative. It looks like a negative. And it burned into the cloth, which again can't be done today. They have to use paper and silver, and I don't know how they do it, but they create a negative, and from that negative, they create a picture. And they've actually done that with the Shroud of Turin. Jesus is 5'11" and a half. That's how tall he was. according to the Shroud of Turin. So these coins were burnt into the Shroud of Turin, and they can determine that either one of the coins was from 29 and the other coin was from 30. Both would have been brand new. Our Lord would have had brand new, unused coins laid on his eyes, not pocket fuzz and gum stuck to it. Somebody, you know, put that on his eyes. I doubt that. They were brand new. All right. This person here, this is Kim Fisher. This I didn't realize this. Chris over Global Rapture Watchers talks about her quite a bit, and I didn't really understand. I thought she was just like writing stuff down, but no, this girl right here, Kim Fisher, this woman right here, sorry, has dreams from years ago. And she writes, she has them all the time. And she wakes up and she writes down the dream and she keeps it in a notebook. And years later, the dreams that she had are actually coming to fruition here in real time. And I didn't realize that's what was happening, but that's what's happening. She's actually written dreams down from 2017 and saw things that are happening right now. For example, I don't know, I haven't watched her latest video, but did she see this treacherous deal go down? Is she seeing Greece volcano take off? I don't know if she's seen that, but I just started watching her because Chris kept talking about her. I didn't get it, and I know Chris is kind of a down to earth, guy, and he's not gonna fall into, anything fake. And so how do you fake this? She wrote this, and it's all in order. She goes through the dates. There's no way in a spiral notebook to add a page. So she goes back to the date she dreamt about something and talks about it. So I thought that was very interesting. So go check her channel out, Kim Fisher. Very, very interesting that that's what's going on. So Greece is just lit up. It's just lit up right now. They're evacuating the island of Santa Iring. Santa Iring. Santa means, and I know there's some misinterpretation of that word. Santa simply means saint in Spanish. Santa means saint, and I'm sure it does in several languages. It might even in Greek. I don't know what it means in Greek, but well, I know what it means. I don't know how they pronounce saint in Greek. But Santa means Saint Irene, and that has a lot to do with what's going on here on this island. Santa doesn't mean Satan. It doesn't mean Santa. It's a Latin word for saint. Is all that is. All right. So now I wanted to get into some math that was rattling around in my head. 2025 is the year that we are currently what we call current, but it is actually doesn't begin until March 17th. Now, Joshua crossed over into the promised land in 1406, but we have to deal with that 0 year. So I took it out, 1405. And it comes up to 3430. Now, remember, the Shemitah cycle is 49 complete full years. At the very last day, the Jubilee begins. The Jubilee goes into the very first year of the first Shemitah cycle of the 49. That's how it fits. I could never make them fit in my mind until I built the graph and I realized, oh, yeah, just like, it says you're a year old, but you're actually just a few months old. It says you're two, but you're actually 2 months and a few months until you complete that. Same thing with this. 3430 divided by 49 is 70. So we've got Aaron at God a Minute. And to his credit, even Rock Island Books has recognized that this is a really good find, and so do I. And that is that Jacob renamed Israel, perfect picture for us to see, is 84 years old. He's 77 when he leaves and runs from his brother Esau. He is 77 when he meets Rachel and makes the deal with Laban, and he is 84 after that 7 years of work. And at 84 is when he marries both Rachel and Leah, 1 week separated. So Aaron, to his credit, realizes that we're talking about the state of Israel, and we all have a problem. A lot of people had a problem with this because, well, it says right in there 70 to 80 years. And we have combined those two passages, which I'm going to show you. And I'm going to argue now that the 70 to 80 years is, in fact, speaking to the fig tree generation. True, but it's a different timeline than what we understood. It's not stating anything about Israel turning 70 years old and 80 years old. It is speaking to Shmida or Jubilee cycles. And we know that because God says this generation has 120 years. We know that 120 Jubilees is 6,000 years. We know that. And I want to offer an explanation to the fig tree generation, 70 years, 80 by reason of strength, and show to you what that might mean. 3430 divided by 49 complete. Shemitah cycles, or one Jubilee, same thing, is 70. Remember that number, 70. That's 70 Jubilees. Now, 70 Jubilees, remember, Israel will be 70, 80 by reason of strength. 80 Jubilees times 49 is 3920. 3920 is around 500 or 490. There's your 490. Didn't even think about that till just now. 490 years further back. If we're to count from now and go backwards, it would be further back. 3920, 3,920 years ago. Remember, we did the 2505 and the 1405. This happened this is BC, this is AD, 3,430 years ago. And it's divisible by 49. 3,920 years ago, divisible by 49 is 80 Jubilees, 80 complete 49 Shemitah cycles. So I deduct the 3920 here, 3920 from our year, current 2025, and I land on 1895, and I don't know what it means. So I go in, start researching. Abraham was 111 years old on this date of 1894 BC. 111 years old. What happened in Abraham's life when Abraham was around 100, depending on the 0 year, 110 or 111 years old? He lived to be 175. So at this point, he would have had 64 or 65 years left to live. So I start studying. And we know that what is written, and we've completed these stories together, and we've done it for a very long time, and it would be very difficult to break that habit. But at this point and where we are, we can't start changing the dates to make what we previously understood to fit. It is not 70 years from when Israel became a nation. It just isn't. It doesn't fit anymore. It is not 84 years to the, 80 years either, because it just doesn't fit. None of it fits. It has to be speaking to Jubilees, just like the 120. The days of our years are 70, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength and labor and sorrow, for it shall be soon cut off and we fly away. Something happens at the end of 70, 80 Jubilees. We gave up on 70 a while ago, so we started looking at 80 because it passed. Now, this is the story that we conflate it with. We lay it over this because it fit nicely, and we thought this is it. Well, we started passing and we started calculating. Well, maybe Jesus was there. Maybe Israel wasn't 1948. Maybe it was 1949 or 1950, 1951. They kept moving it. But Israel's a nation on May 14th, 1948. The whole world knows that. It's not something that we can just change. It's a fact. And I know we can go in and say, yeah, when they put, when they put forth yet tender, well, when you plant something it's not yet tender, it's May 14th, 1948. We've gone way past everything that we thought we could calculate beyond that point. And I'm guilty of it too. It's not just everybody. It's me too. I looked and looked and looked and tried to make it fit. It stopped fitting. So what do we do? Do we move the creation date, the date God created the universe on in 4004? No, we don't do that. Do we say, well, Jesus wasn't here 33 and a half years. It must have been 36 and a half. That doesn't even make sense. Why would we can't do that? He was here 33 and a half years. We know it says he was about 30 years old. We know his ministry lasted 3.5 years, not 6.5 years. We can't change that stuff. It's 33 and a half. So this is the parable of the fig tree. This is what we associated. Well, 70 years ago, 1948, Israel became a nation. Well, that was great, but they turned in the year 2018, 70. And then we go to the year, and I'm not saying that because in 2018 things happen, and I'm not saying that when Israel turns 80, things won't happen, but it also lines up with this Jubilee that I'm about to show you. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when you see all these things, know that that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Could it be possible that, and yes, this is speaking to 1948, could it be possible that the generation that we're looking at is not 70 and 80? Could it be 77 and 84, like Aaron has found out, and like Rock Island Books also began to investigate and realize, hey, Aaron's onto something here. Aaron does a lot of great math, and uh, he is willing to look at other things like this. So I said, 70 Jubilees ago, what happened? Well, that's when Joshua crossed over into the Promised Land in 1405, 1406, depending on the 0 year. But what happened 500 years prior to that? Because remember, or 490 years prior to that, because remember, a Jubilee cycle is 49 complete Shmidas. So you would count 49 complete. If you counted 50, you would wind up, because you have to complete the 50th year, you would wind up to 51. You can't count it that way. It has to be counted by 49. I showed you that in relationship to how mothers count their babies. So I looked 500 years prior to Abraham. I'm sorry, Joshua crossing. And we land here. Abraham was 111 years old when an event took place. When I did the math, we land here, 1900 BC. This is about the time Abraham was 111 years old. Remember, Abraham is pleading with God, if there's 100, if there's 50, if there's 10, and it turns out it's just Lot, his wife, and two daughters that come out of Sodom. This is a bookend. This is the beginning of everything with Abraham. The end is, that's when the destruction, that's 80 years, 80 Jubilee cycles will end during the tribulation. That's when the proverbial stuff hits the fan. That's when it happens. That's the other bookend. And so we have a solid date of they say around 1900, but if I go, let me see here if I know how to do this. If I go back here and expand this a little bit, we see here that Abraham is born in 1948 BC to 2130, and we have him in 2005 from creation to 1830, and we have that it's in 1900 when that occurred, 500 years prior to the crossing over. This is about 490 years prior to that. We see 500 years would be 1900, actually 1900. So it falls within the lifetime of Abraham. And it looks like a bookend to me. This would be, and I didn't have Sister Sandy put it on here because I know she's working very hard on her own, but 70 Jubilees from here. And I would actually like to see it on her graph. 70 jubilees from here to what we see as a rapture date on March 16th, March 26th, and 80 jubilees from here when Abraham was pleading for Sodom and Gomorrah not to be completely destroyed. He knew his nephew was down there, and he was pleading to have not destroy that. And that would be a 490-year separation. All right. Now, let me go back forward to where I was. Kim Fisher, all the dates, three score. Okay. 1900 BC. Now, this is, again, when you go in there, look for this. This is amazing what she's done. Each block represents a year of 6,000 years, and she works this thing out. It's absolutely incredible what she's done in here, and the work she had to have done is incredible. So you can go see this on her website. Like I said, hopefully, did she put it down here? English New Zealand. Huh. Um, Yeah, she did put it's www.endtime-studies.com. All right. Now, again, I'm lying around going, hey, what's going to happen? It's 40 days. This would be a perfect opportunity for something to go down. And the hugest thing ever went down. Trump says U.S. will take over Gaza Strip, rebuild it. It's not just Gaza Strip. There's a corridor from Gaza that goes across to the West Bank and then goes up to Jerusalem. Um, that will stop. That will literally how do you think the EAU is it the EAU that built those three temples got away with it? Nobody complained. It's their land. They can do what they want. They were given a temple to everybody to go in and worship. What do you think Trump's going to do? Yeah, we've got the Dome of the Rock here. We're going to also build the temple for the Jews, and we're going to build a big uh, a Catholic church too, a Christian church. They'll do the same thing there. That's why this is going to become very popular, where we say all religions lead to God, and that's where Satan is going, of course, because he doesn't want you to accept the simple gospel that Jesus came and died for our sins, and all you have to do is accept this free gift. It's that simple. But Satan will complicate it and add religion to everything and make it impossible. You got to be baptized. You've got to walk in front of a church. You've got to confess every sin you could ever think of, none of which is true. God says that you can lose your salvation. He gives it to you. He writes your name in the book of life, and if you're bad, he goes in there with an eraser. By now, if that were true, he would have worn through the page with an eraser on me. So no, that's not how it works. Once your name is written there, that's it. You're always going to be there. God knew every sin that you would commit after you accepted Him, and I think salvation is as simple as this: you're on an airplane. We just saw this. Those poor people on that airplane. You're on an airplane. A huge explosion happens. You're falling to the earth. You're floating off your seat because you're weightless because the plane's falling to earth, and you say, "Oh God, please save me. I am about to die, and the only thing I have left is you." There will be others that say, "Well, this is it. I uh, I don't believe in anything. I'm just about to die, and that's the end of my life. I'm snuffed out, and there's nothing after this." Those events do take place. And I think salvation is as simple as that at that moment. There's no place that you have to go to do it. There's no specific way to do it. You don't have to say exactly anything. You don't have to call Jesus by Yeshua, or he won't hear your prayers. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You just have to, he knows your heart. You just have to bring your heart and give it to him. That's it. And why is it like this? Why is it like this? It's like this because if salvation were left up to you, you would fail every time. But you have free will. You have a choice to make. Do you believe in all this stuff we're saying? Or do you just think you die and go nowhere? Because you're about to learn the truth, and the truth is huge. It's a huge decision, and you're about to learn that choices mean something, and you're going to want to make the right choice right now and say, Lord, I'm in a plane. It's crashing down. I am about to die. Will you please save me? Doesn't matter where you are. You can call him Jesus. You can. It's don't bring your legalities into salvation. It's that simple to do. It's absolutely that simple. So, 40 days before March 16th, the day of equal parts, the day Jesus said, "Oh, they're not 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night." That day, 40 days prior, the treacherous dealer deals treacherously. I couldn't believe this. Did anybody on planet Earth see this one coming? Did anybody anywhere see this coming? This is absolutely mind-blowing, earth-shaking. This is incredible. This was, and the second I saw it, I was like, that's the only way it could possibly happen. They're never going to let Israel build this temple. They're never, each faction out there, from Jordan to Egypt, they all kind of don't like each other. They call it kind of war with each other, but they all just hate Israel together. But they're not all on the same. Well, you're not building the temple. I'm building the temple. No, you're not building the temple. They could never agree on it. Who's the one entity of everybody on planet Earth? Who's the one entity that can go in and build that temple and nobody would complain about it, just like the EAU. We had to own it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow, wow. I don't even know. This is what we're about to see. The United States will own all of this, including Jerusalem. All of this will be called Palestine, controlled by the United States of America. Right here is Gaza. There will be a corridor going to the West Bank. It will be called the Gaza Tunnel. The United States will completely and absolutely guard its interests. Nobody will go near this blue area, which will be called Palestine, under the control of Israel. Nobody will dare go near it. Under the control of the United States of America. Sorry. All of this. Jerusalem's right there. They're getting their temple. Now, all you who say, now, if there's no temple that's going to be built, there absolutely is going to be a temple built. Again, we start conflating stories and mixing things up because we want our timeline of things to fit. We're the temple, and when we're gone, it's over. I'm sorry, that goes completely against what the Bible teaches. There's going to be a rapture of the head of Christ, those who rule and reign with him. There's going to be a rapture of the body. The body is going to be the tribulation saints. They will go there and serve in the kingdom for all eternity. They will absolutely love it. They'll run businesses. They will be the envy of every, not envy. I don't want to say it like that. Everybody will be absolutely mind blown by what they've come up with as far as the business they run and their model, the business model. I'm a businessman, so watching a true business model would be amazing to watch, and how, how the intricacies of how they put all that together. And the same thing, this is going to be built now, and it is going to be a temple. In that temple, Satan will go in. It's not us. He will go into that temple. He will kill the two witnesses. He will do this halfway through. I think that we're going to see six seals happen relatively quickly. Remember, I think there's this gap. If and it, I think the rapture must happen on Rosh Hashanah. I think it must happen on March 16th, the head of the year. That's what Rosh Hashanah means. March 16th is the head of the year. March 17th, and I think that those seals, none of them are open yet. I know everybody's like, oh, they're open because we've seen all the. You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen that. Seals are the wrath of God. He cannot and will not punish his son twice. Moses got into a lot of trouble for striking the rock twice. You cannot, it will not be struck twice. Jesus only died once on the cross for all. That's including the bride, that's including the tribulation saint. They are a part of that. We see this restrainer continuing to hold back by the time we get to seal. I forget, it's 4 or 6, I don't recall, but he's still holding. The restrainer's still here holding back. We haven't completed the body yet. I think you're going to see the first seals. Now they're under wrath because they haven't done that airplane crash moment yet where God, please save me. Everyone's going to be in an airplane crash during those seals being opened. They are going to see some spectacular things that are going to, just like an airplane crash, you're inside that plane, it's going down, you're floating up, you know what's about to happen. And you're praying to God to save you during that time. And the same thing is going to happen during the seals being opened. Those seals are going to begin open. You're going to see horses riding around. You're going to see all this crazy stuff. Two witnesses calling fire down from heaven. You're going to see so many, what you see now driving to work. You don't see any of this supernatural stuff, but that veil's getting thinner and it's going to happen. It's going to happen very soon. I think the seals will be opened up in those 6 months and 10 days to the Feast of Trumpets when they are to blow trumpets. I'm sorry, the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement moves in a Jubilee year. This Jubilee year will begin here very shortly. And I think those first 6 months and 10 days is pointing us directly to, and it lands on the Revelation 12 sign, September the 24th. It's exactly 6 months and 10 days. And I think those six seals are opened up in those 6 months. And then we will see the tribulation saints in heaven, a great multitude that no man can count. And they will show up there with palm branches and they will have washed their robes white. They will have been in that crashing plane begging Jesus, please save us. And they will be saved. And Jesus will carry them to heaven. And then those 7 years, I think we're going to see 3.5 years of trumpets and 3.5 years of bowls. It gets really bad after Satan goes into that temple that's going to be built by the United States because this now all belongs to the United States. It's under they own it. They own the deed to the land. This is Palestine, and Jerusalem will be safe and the unwalled villages because you won't mess around with the United States. They're going to dump so much money into this. I think they said $1 billion already. This project and Israel will be protected. So this will be built. Satan will go in after 3.5 years into a physical temple, not a tent somewhere in Shiloh. Satan will not accept that. Satan is competing against God himself. He thinks he's God. He thinks he can take that position. He thinks he can do what God does by virtue of technology. But if God just stopped for a moment, our earth would spin off of our sun. That's how intelligent this guy is. He's not very bright. Every single time your heart beats, God makes your heart beat. God is the author of life. Satan is the author of death. Everything that Satan touches dies. So, yes, the temple will be built right here in Jerusalem. Satan will go in 3.5 years and proclaim himself to be God. The Jews will flee over here to Petra. And the last 3.5 years is going to be whoever's left on planet Earth, this area will still be protected because the Jews are here. They're the ones that will walk into the millennium. They're the ones who will inherit this earth for 1,000 years. They will be the ones that we will rule and reign over for the 1,000 years. Satan will be bound at the end of the 7 years. Israel will be protected. But during this period of time, the rest of the planet is going to be decimated. It's going to be tore up. But there will be a group of people that go into the millennium. This group of people, Jesus will have died for as well because they're not going to the lake of fire. That lake of fire is a one-time event and it comes up at the end of the 1,000 years, but it's a one-time event and it's done. It will never happen again. Once the people who deny the sovereignty, deny Jesus Christ, those people who, when that plane is crashed and say, I'm done. There's no God. And I know that. You can take an atheist and put him in a situation like that, and even an atheist will go, all right, if you're real, this is it. I'm about to die, and I don't want to go to the lake of fire. If that's all real, please save me. If it's not, then, you know, I guess I just cease to exist. So, at any rate, this is going to be absolutely phenomenal. What we're about to see. I put the state of Israel, or the country of Israel, into the state of Florida. because I'm in Florida. I'm up here. It's still cold up here. But this is how big Israel is by comparison. Florida, it takes us 6.5 hours to drive from Jacksonville down to Miami. It takes us, I think it's an hour and a half to 2 hours. No, it's more than that. It might be 2.5, 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours to drive across our state. Not like the 80 hours it takes to drive across Texas, but this is the size. Now, to get from Jacksonville down here to Sarasota, it's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive. So Israel is a small country, but it's substantial. And this is the most desired piece of property on the face of the earth. Satan has put that into their hearts. That's the kitty cat doing the math. That's Sister Sandy right now. She's building this thing. Oh my goodness. Once it starts, it's insane. It's insane. So, all right. Anyway, YouTube, Repo Man 64. Keep your eyes open. Over the next 40 days is going to be incredible. Um, we know it's coming. Exact moments. I think it's going to be March 16th to March 26th, but I don't know 100%. I mean, I'm pretty convinced of the timeline, but there's not been an angel appear at the foot of my bed going, "You were right on. You figured it out. You're the smartest guy on the planet." No, that hasn't happened, and I'm not. So, but as far as working out the numbers, that is the most likely date that fits is March 16th and March 26th because of blowing the trumpet 6 months later. Um, and also, if you think about it, um, Jesus, even Jesus, see, Jesus didn't set up these laws to restrict himself. He set up these laws so we could figure out dates and times. He set up the law in Leviticus about if you touch a dead body, you're unclean for 7 days, or if you come out of a graveyard, I think it is, you're unclean for 7 days. Well, Mary and Martha buried their brother. They were unclean for 7 days. So 7 days, you're unclean, right? So this entire planet is a graveyard. Satan has been killing us off, or because of what Adam and Eve ate the apple, because of that, billions of people. I would guess that pretty much everywhere you walk, there's going to be human dust cells or human cells everywhere on this planet. This whole planet is a graveyard. We've been burying human beings on this planet for 6,000 years, billions of them, just billions of them. And so Satan, of course, he's a sociopath. He's a serial killer. He doesn't want. Why didn't he just come in and destroy all mankind? First of all, God wouldn't let him. He tried to do that prior to the flood, and God allowed him to get away with it all the way up till Noah. But he's into genocide. He's into mass murder, and so, but he won't finish us. He doesn't even want to finish us off completely himself because who would he have left to kill if he did that? He'd be all alone. He'd have nobody left to rule. So he doesn't want to wipe out all of mankind either. So, and here we go. We have Satan uh, coming up to destroy everything here towards the last day. But all he really wants is to go into that temple and for mankind to worship him. He wants to laugh in the face of God because God created us. That's what set him off. That's what set off Satan in the first place. Satan was so furious when God created us in his image. He was like, "What? Seriously? He created us in his image." Satan was so jealous. He said, "All right, I will destroy your creation and I will make them worship me." And he's pretty much, by and large, been somewhat successful. And he wants us Christians out of here so he can show God, "Look what I'll do without any of your people here." So he'll try to destroy us, but he wants us out of here. So anyway, um, go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody except the Lord in your heart. We are out of time. There is no more time. I think we have, as of yesterday, 40 days left. And then as we go forward, look, the earthquakes, the things going on, everything that's happening, it's at a fever pitch right now. It is going insane. It's really catapulting us forward, and things are unfolding as we go very quickly. I'll be back on, unless the rapture happens first. I'll be back on in a couple of days. I got to work a 5 day straight schedule, and then I'm off a day, and then I got to work 5 more days, and I'm off too. It's a real nightmare, my schedule. But I'll be back as soon as have another break, and especially if something huge happens. And I would guess that it will happen on a symmetrical date to March 16th. Personally, I would think that. So, all right, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will chat with you all again later.